My name is Arian, I am 28, and my sister Ria is 26. We grew up in a household where Ria was the undisputed golden child. Our parents, who moved back to our home country a few years ago, treated her like a porcelain doll that could do no wrong. This upbringing turned Ria into an entitled adult who believed the world owed her everything. 5 years ago, Ria was in a relationship with a man named Jared. Jared was a monster, a violent, narcissistic predator who treated her like an animal. At 23, I risked my life to save her. I confronted him, I moved her out in the middle of the night, and I spent thousands on legal fees to get her a protection order. I thought I was being a hero, a protective brother. I didn't know then that Ria would eventually spit on my sacrifices. She left him then, but her heart remained tethered to the very darkness that almost killed her. After Ria left Jared, she started dating my best friend, Mark. I warned Mark. I told him, "Mark, she isn't mentally stable. She's addicted to chaos. Don't do this." But Mark was an optimist. He thought he could fix her. They were together for 18 months, and Mark treated her like a queen. He paid her rent, bought her a car, and spent weeks in the hospital with our father when he had surgery. Mark was the perfect man. But Ria grew bored of stability. In a move that shocked everyone, she publicly humiliated Mark by mocking a private physical insecurity of his and went straight back to Jared, the man who used to beat her bloody. Mark was devastated. He spiraled into a deep depression. I told Ria that day, "If you go back to that animal, you are dead to me. Do not ever call me for help. Again." She laughed in my face and walked back into the arms of her abuser. 2 years passed in total silence. I cut her off completely. Mark eventually went through therapy and is doing better, though he still struggles to trust anyone. Last week, my phone rang. It was my parents, hysterical. They told me that Jared had brutally attacked Ria again. She was reportedly wandering the streets covered in blood with nowhere to go. My parents didn't ask. They commanded me to let her stay in my apartment. I calmly said, "No." She dug her own grave. I warned her exactly what would happen. My parents exploded. They called me a demon, heartless, and a disgrace to the family. They threatened to disown me. But I remembered the last time Jared came to my office to find her. He nearly cost me my job and my safety. I refused to let that poison back into my sanctuary. The climax happened 3 days ago, when Ria showed up at my workplace. She was a horrific sight. One eye was swollen shut, her lip was split, and her arms were covered in purple bruises. She looked like she had escaped a war zone. In front of all my colleagues, she fell to her knees and grabbed my legs. She screamed, "Arian, please save me! He's going to kill me this time! You're the only one I have!" The look of judgment from my coworkers was suffocating. They saw a cruel brother ignoring a battered sister. I broke down right there in the parking lot. I wasn't crying for her. I was crying for the life she kept forcing me to sacrifice. I told her, "Get away from me, Ria! I'm calling the police to take you to a shelter. But you are not coming home with me. You chose this life over and over again." I walked away, hearing her wails behind me. I felt like a villain, but I knew I was finally a survivor. After that scene, my family went to war with me. Cousins who hadn't spoken to me in years were suddenly experts on my moral failures. My mother sent me a message saying she regretted giving birth to me and prayed for my downfall. It's a special kind of pain when your own mother chooses a toxic sibling's chaos over your peace. I challenged one of those vocal cousins. I said, "If you're so concerned, why don't you let her stay on your sofa?" The silence was deafening. He immediately made excuses about his busy schedule. That's the reality of these family-first advocates. They love to give advice, but they never want to deal with the consequences. Ria is now threatening to sue me for emotional distress, but the worst was yet to come. The plot took a sickening turn. Just 48 hours after her desperate plea at my office, Ria went back to Jared again, but this time, she sent me a photo of a positive pregnancy test. And the chilling part? She admitted it wasn't an accident. She told a mutual friend that she stopped taking her birth control on purpose. She baby-trapped her abuser. She actually believes that bringing an innocent child into a house of violence will make Jared change and become a doting father. I was paralyzed by the sheer malice of her decision. She is bringing a human being into a nightmare just to win a psychological game with a predator. She sent me a long email asking me to be the godfather and to provide financial stability for the baby since Jared is currently unemployed. When I told my parents about the pregnancy, I expected them to be horrified. Instead, they were relieved. My father said, "At least the child will be legitimate. We will pay for a wedding so our family honor remains intact." Their honor was more important than the fact that their granddaughter would be raised by a violent felon. They told me, "Ria is a mother now, Arian. You can't be petty anymore. Send her money for the nursery." I realized my family was a sinking ship, and they wanted me to be the anchor. I told them, "I will not contribute a single cent to a child being born into a crime scene. A woman who weaponizes a pregnancy to stay with an abuser isn't a victim. She's a co-conspirator, My parents officially disowned me that night. I'm now standing completely alone. I've been offered a massive promotion that requires me to move to a different state, and I am taking it. I've decided to go completely dark. I am changing my number and deleting my public social media. However, I am making one final move. I am calling Child Protective Services, CPS, and handing over all the evidence of Jared's violence and Ria's instability. I won't give them money, but I will try to give that unborn child a chance at a life away from them. People will call me cruel. They will say, "She's your flesh and blood." My answer is simple. You can save someone from a fire, but you can't save someone who keeps jumping back into the flames. If you try, you just get burned yourself. Ria is now posting victim videos on TikTok, crying about her rich, cold-hearted brother who abandoned her while she's pregnant. She has thousands of strangers sympathizing with her. My reputation in my old town is ruined. But then Mark called me. He told me, "Arian, what you did took more courage than anything else. Everyone wants to be the nice guy. Yeah, but no one wants to tell the hard truth." I am in therapy now because the image of Ria's bruised face haunts my dreams. I loved my sister, but I realized that my love was being used as a currency to fund her self-destruction. I have finally found peace in the silence of my new apartment, far away from the screams. In the end, I learned that family isn't a free pass for abuse. Ria is now using the baby as a weapon to guilt-trip me, but my heart has finally turned to stone for my own survival. I am moving to my new city next week. My new home has no room for Ria, Jared, or my enabling parents. I have forgiven them in my heart so I can let go, but they will never have access to my life again. When you realize that someone is determined to drown, you have to let go of their hand before they pull you under too. I am finally free. I am finally safe. 6 months have passed since I moved. I found out through the grapevine that Ria gave birth to a daughter. As predicted, Jared started beating her again just weeks after the birth. He was arrested, and Ria is once again calling everyone for help. But my number is blocked. My cousins, the ones who judged me so harshly, are now being hounded by her for money. One by one, they are realizing why I walked away. They are seeing that Ria doesn't want a way out. She wants a way through until the next cycle begins. I feel sorry for the baby, but I know that CPS is already involved. Thanks to my report, my parents are now aging and struggling. They spent their entire retirement savings trying to keep Ria and Jared afloat, and now they are in debt. They reached out to me, asking for elderly support. I told them I would pay for their medical bills directly to the hospital, but I would not send them cash that would inevitably end up in Ria's pockets. They were insulted, but they accepted. I've realized that boundaries are the only way to love toxic people. I can care for their needs without participating in their drama. I am the bad son who pays the bills, and I'm okay with that. In my new city, no one knows my name or my past. I have a small garden, and I spend my weekends hiking. Mark visited me last month, and we sat on the porch talking about how much our lives have changed. We are both survivors of the same storm. I've learned that being heroic doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Sometimes, the most heroic thing you can do is walk away from a burning building. Ria is a memory of a sister I once had, but the woman she became is a stranger. I don't wish to know. This journey has taught me that the cycle of abuse is a black hole. It sucks in everyone. The abuser, the victim, and the family members who try to help. Ria knew who Jared was, yet she chose to bring a child into that chaos. That is a level of selfishness I cannot forgive. I am at peace because I know I did my best. People will judge you by your actions, but God judges you by your intentions. My intention was to save her, but she chose to stay in the dark. I cannot be her light anymore. I have to keep my own lamp burning. As I close this chapter of my life, I want to say one thing. Never sacrifice your self-respect for someone who doesn't respect themselves. Ria is where she chose to be. I am where I work to be. The darkness is gone and the dawn is finally here. I pray for that little girl every night, hoping she grows up to be nothing like her parents. But as for me, my life belongs to me now. Thank you for listening to my story. The truth will always prevail. My name is Arian, and I am finally, truly unbroken.